Hi, and welcome to PDA Dads UK. I wanted to do a quick, it's like one of my little updatey type posts and sort of talk about something that's popped up today that's really had me thinking, and I think it's worth covering as an issue, and that's the issue of when we begin, and I hate the phrase, but there's no other way to really put it, which is our journey into autism acceptance and awareness and everything involved with that. And I think of that from the perspective of, myself, when I started and when we first became aware of my daughter's condition and how to adapt and work with her with that and help her and support her. One of the things was coming to terms and understanding the language to use and the phrases to use and what's sort of appropriate and what's not. Now, on the group I run on Facebook, we have a lot of parents who are very new to the world of special educational needs, of autism, of neurodiversity in general. And we have this horrible schism, if you like, and I understand it being there, and it's something I really want to address. And the schism is the fact that there are things that autistic people actually prefer said and the way things are dealt with that we aren't aware of at the beginning of our journey. So for example, and this comes back to how a lot is presented by the professionals in the first place. So when we first came to understanding that my daughter is autistic, the way it was phrased by doctors, pediatricians, specialists was that she has autism. And that's how naturally I spoke. My daughter has autism. It was something that was just natural because it's the way it had always been communicated to me. But more than that, it was just, it was how I thought was the case. I didn't understand any better at the time. And so I used to say that my daughter has autism. Thankfully, I'm so fortunate. I have, a group of friends who are themselves actually autistic. And it makes such a difference being able to bounce things off them and learn back from them. And I learned fairly early on that actually the way to phrase things is to say my daughter is autistic. It's identity first. And so she identifies as being autistic, not as I have autism. It's fundamentally a part of who she is and what she is. And so we've learned to say my daughter is autistic rather than my daughter has autism. But at the beginning of the journey, we don't know this. We don't know this stuff. We don't know about ABA therapies, and we've talked about ABA therapies on this channel before. We don't know about the harm that's potentially caused by things like ABA therapies. We don't know that the puzzle piece is actually generally disliked by the autistic community because it has its roots in Autism Speaks, who are advocates of ABA therapies and looking to cure autism, which doesn't need to be cured. What I just really want to see is an understanding develop between the autistic community and the neurotypical community, people like myself, people like yourself listening to this and wanting to learn more, people like the parents on my group, who all they want to do is reach out for support. They want to understand their kids better, and they want to be better parents, and they want to be better support for helping them exist in a predominantly neurotypical world as autistic people. There's nothing but good intention there. No one comes into this going, right, that's it, I've got to somehow slice this out of my kid's life and I don't want it there. And that may be the case in the beginning, and as we learn more, we start to understand and accept and actually celebrate the autism in many ways and the neurodiversities that are there. But that beginning of the journey is so important, and I really want to appeal to anybody who's actually autistic watching, is when we correct, and it's so important to correct these things. What you value is so important. How you choose to be referred to is so important. The things that affect you, like the therapies that are out there and the people who think you're going to cure something, or that somehow this was caused by MMR shots and vaccines and all the bollocks that goes along with that. The fact is that I was lucky enough that I was gently educated by autistic people who told me, actually, we prefer this. This is what I prefer to be called. This is how I prefer to be referred to. This is why these things are bad. And I started to do the research, and You know, on the group I run on Facebook, we have a good solid number of autistic members, and part of the structure of the group is we always make sure we have at least as close to as we can get 50-50 balance of autistic and neurotypical people who are running the group, so the modmins and moderators and administrators. It's so important and it's so valuable, but it's the gentle educating on those early stages and understanding. We've been misinformed by the professionals to start with. You know, they use condition first terminology, not identity first terminology. They told me my daughter may have autism. They didn't say my daughter may be autistic. These are the things that they are told to use. And things like functioning labels, you know, we know now that functioning labels aren't used because autism is autism, and it's a spectrum, and there's so many different ways it presents itself, and how it affects people differently, and the different responses we have to the processing and the co-diagnosed conditions that come along with it and all that kind of stuff. But there's no such thing as high functioning versus low functioning on the basis that just because something's high functioning doesn't mean it's not having much deeper effects, and you know, it takes away from that. But I'm doing a course at the moment on understanding autism, and the first thing they talk about is Asperger's and high functioning autism, and it's like, and I've been able to say in my responses to the questions, actually we don't look at it this way anymore. This is outdated. And it's frustrating because this is how people are taught. This is what comes out. The parents on my group are all there because they want to make the world a better place for their kids. They want their kids tomorrow to be better than today. And we can do that. We can make that happen. It comes from learning from autistic people, and it comes from learning the ins and outs of everything, and actually listening to how people, you know, I'm not going to go into a conversation with somebody who is gay and know everything about what they want, because I myself am not gay. I need them to say, actually, we prefer to be called this, the LGBTQ community, or LGBTQ plus, or we don't use him, her, here, we use they, them, all the stuff that goes along with that side of things. But it takes the education and understanding and learning from me, and a willingness to learn from me. I have to be willing to be in that position in the first place. And these people are. So I just, like I said, I want to reach out to the actually autistic people who may be tuning in or are members of my group, to please, let's be gentle in our reminders. It's so important to learn from you, but it's so important that the learning comes in a caring, supportive fashion. And I really want to reach out with that. This came from seeing a post that somebody put up, and it turns out that the lady who is autistic herself, but is not widely accepted by the autistic community. It turns out that she's a proponent for ABA therapies and stuff like that. And so I'm not going to sort of post anything about that here, but she was talking about this, and it really was the heart of the message that I agreed with on this particular post, was that, you know, we're all here because we care and we want to support and do the best for our kids. And it's so important that we meet halfway on that. And I really believe that if we're going to have a world that is accepting of autism and understanding of neurodiversity, then we need to meet halfway on the bridge and have that handshake, if you like. It's just so important. I really want to see that day, and I want to see it come, and I want it to be something that's natural, and there isn't a world that even considers neurodiversity in a sense, because it's just part of life. It's not something we sort of have to suddenly make accommodations for. That's really all I had to say. It's something that was really playing on my mind, and I wanted to do a quick video on it and just talk about it a bit and open the conversation. And I'd love to hear in the comments if you've got anything that you've got to say on this. I'd love to hear from you if you're autistic and this is something that rings true with you, or if you struggle with this and the reasons you might struggle with this. Please do put it in the comments. For parents, I'd love to hear from you guys as well, and struggles you have and things that you're trying to learn, and what your journey's been like thus far. Please do like this. Please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you know we've got new content coming up. And I want you guys to stay safe, and I will see you again on the next episode.